Welcome back to the Extra Mile on IU Sports Radio, your direct feed for all of the sports. My name is Christopher Lehman, and joining me this evening is Michael Ward. Michael, how are you doing this evening?
Oh, another day, another Ferrari pit stop blunder.
Absolutely. And we'll get back to that later on in the episode after the break in the second half. But for now, let's talk about the first race of the weekend, and that's the Gallagher Grand Prix at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It was a doubleheader this weekend with NASCAR and Indycar. First, we'll dive into Indycar, though. Alexander Rossi picks up his first win since 2019. Christian Lundgaard comes home in second, picking up his first career podium. And finally, Will Power rounds out the top three positions. Michael, what were your thoughts on the race?
It was a pretty good race. It was a shame to see Colton Herta run into trouble about a good chunk of the way through, but it's racing. Some of these things happen.
Absolutely, and Colton Herta, we were talking about a little bit in the pre-show. It just seems like his career is a little cursed. He definitely has more potential than we've seen out of him, and this is just another notch in the belt, so to speak, of unfortunate events in his career. Do you have any thoughts on how his career is going and how maybe he's not on the trajectory that we projected that he'd be on?
I would say give it time. Sometimes drivers take a little bit more time than usual to peak. We've seen that a lot. We've seen that a lot in NASCAR, where a driver is supposed to set the road on fire, but it turns out they needed a little bit more time behind the wheel to peak. So we'll see. I think he just needs a little bit more time behind the wheel.
Yeah, I agree. That's one of the beauties of the young guns in their career, right? They've got time to settle in and learn and get developed. So it's definitely worth seeing. But with his name being tied with potentially a Formula One ride, I definitely feel like we need to be seeing a little bit more out of him. Just because if he is gonna make that leap, he definitely needs to be performing every week to run with the best of the best.
Yeah, he definitely needs to be up there fighting for wins, if not the championship, if he wants a Formula One seat. A Formula One team isn't going to tolerate a guy just, running in the midfield all the time. They want to see race wins and championships.
Well, they won't tolerate it unless your dad owns the company, right?
Unless your dad owns the company, or unless your dad is Lance Stroll.
Absolutely. But as far as the IndyCar race goes, it was pretty... What's that?
I said Lawrence Stroll, I'm sorry.
Lawrence, yeah. So as far as the IndyCar race went, it was pretty straightforward. There wasn't a ton going on with the exception of the Colton Herta. Really, the only other big storyline out of that race this weekend was Joseph Newgarden getting back into the car. There was definitely some concern after the race at Iowa. He had a pretty nasty wreck and then passed out, actually, going into his motorhome. He was airlifted out. It definitely was not looking great for him, so it's definitely good to see him back in the car and actually finishing P5, which is great. He definitely had a good showing this weekend.
Yeah, he had a really good showing for somebody who passed out after a race, and I think for given what happened, he did a really great job getting in top 5 right there.
Absolutely. And there was a doubleheader this weekend with NASCAR also being in Indianapolis at the road course. Tyler Reddick picks up his second win of the season. Austin Cindric finishes second, and Harrison Burton finishes third. Unfortunately, Daryl's not with us here tonight to be celebrating another Bubba Wallace top 5 this season. Daryl, Michael, and I are absolutely ecstatic for you. Definitely wish you were here to talk about Bubba anyway. So, any particular thoughts on this race, Michael, that you wanted to talk about?
Honestly, without cursing, it was a bit of an show. I mean, the car is going down into turn 1 during the restart. It was crazy. You had some guys barreling straight in and saying, well, the guy next to me is going to, block me from going straight on. And then it just starts a chain reaction, right? It's like one guy hits another guy, and then another guy hits another guy, and then another guy spins the other guy. It was just I don't know if you can make that turn wider. If not, but seeing those guys kind of like hitting each other in turn one all the time during a restart, it was not fun to watch, Chris. And there was some really bad incidents, with Kyle Larson in the turn one, and the ending, the last restart, the overtime restart, where Blaney basically gets run over by Suarez. The race is good, but maybe it needs some changes.
Yeah, I would agree with you. There was definitely a lot of not even necessarily pile-ups, but there was a lot of chain reaction, a lot of bumper to bumper, particularly in turn one, like you were saying with the restarts. I think the biggest whoopsie daisy of the day goes to Ross Chastain, though. Did you see where he just he must have forgot we were doing the road course or something, because he just went straight on through.
Yeah, my man forgot that there was a turn there.
Absolutely. And
kind of reminds me of Kimi Räikkönen, and like, what season was this? It was like 2013 or something like that, where he went straight on and like took the escape road and like went on to another part of the track.
Yeah. And Daryl just texted me. He must be listening to us. There was an article on Insider about that turn, the turn one issues. Hamlin called it a lack of respect from the younger drivers, which Daryl thought was funny because it's like you're part of the veteran crew. If it's a problem, you and your boys need to handle it. I agree. Kevin Harvick got a little triggered there after a little contact and with Alex Bowman, but I think it was actually Ricky Stenhouse that started that domino. But yeah, you saw no one. Yeah, Daryl. Yeah.
There was just a blatant lack of respect into that corner. Like, you could see it. Like, people just started like slamming into each other in that corner, and it was just wasn't right. It just wasn't. Might be, it's not right, but it's just not good. It's not motorsport. We try to make clean passes, and I know it's NASCAR and rubbing is racing, but come on, what we saw into turn one and some of these restarts, that wasn't professionalism in the slightest. That was just, I'm gonna go down here as hard as possible, and the other guy is gonna slow me down.
Absolutely. And that's just one of those things. I mean, it's just such a tight turn and you see it at Watkins Glen too, which is my home track. When you're coming off a restart, going down into turn one, it is every man for himself. You are just praying that you make it through. Look at Charlotte with the heartburn turn when we're on the Roval. And this is something that NASCAR might need to learn from, is that you can't have a straightaway and then a hard 90-degree turn and expect what happens to not happen. It's the definition of insanity, right? Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. And what I'm seeing is that we're doing the same thing over again, and we're getting the same result. It's mind-boggling, especially for someone like Denny Hamlin, who's been in the sport for so long, to say that it's a lack of respect. It's to a degree. It's the way that the track layout is. It's unavoidable if you're going to work your way from the back to the front.
I think if the racing like this keeps on, I think we move back to the oval.
Yeah, which I could take it or leave it. It doesn't really matter that much to me. If I'm being honest with you, I don't necessarily need Indianapolis as a road course. I think
with this car, the oval race actually would have been really good.
Yeah, I'd definitely like to see it too, especially if we could add in some DRS down the straights or something.
DRS?
Oh man,
I don't know. How would DRS work with these cars?
I don't know. It'd be a complete, for lack of a better term, S show, as you said earlier.
I mean, like, what are we gonna do? Are we gonna like make it so that they can open that little rare spoiler they have in the back. Get some extra, at least some extra drag.
Yeah, exactly, and put an ERS system or something.
Oh my god.
But Daryl just texted me that everybody's trying to get as many spots as possible on these restarts, so when they go into turn 1 on these road courses, they're not giving any space. Daryl, I absolutely agree with you. He continues on, look at the IndyCar race before they got to turn 1 just fine. And absolutely, look at Formula 1 for the most...
That's IndyCar. That's IndyCar. If they don't make it in the turn... If they hit somebody in the turn 1, that's a wheel.
Well, absolutely, and as long as your name's not Valtteri Bottas in Formula 1, you get into turn 1 just fine, too.
Right.
We won't talk about...
Or Pastor Maldonado.
We won't talk about Hungary last year. And,
we won't talk about that. We won't talk about Bottas running out of talent.
Yeah, absolutely, and I don't think he could blame it on the wet weather as much as he wanted to.
Yeah. That was just running out of talent.
Absolutely. And I'm still waiting for Daryl to text me something about Bubba Wallace's P5. Taryn's in the chat. Thank you for joining us as always, Taryn. And he says that Bubba Wallace finishing top 5 is huge. I absolutely agree. It seems like organizationally they might have figured out that finally what they were doing was wrong. Take notes, Ferrari. And that you can...
Don't worry, I'm going to tear them new.
And that you can turn a season around mid-season. You just have to, basically dive in and make the changes that are necessary. So it's good seeing 2311 make those changes, and Ty Gibbs with another good run in the 45 this weekend. It's pretty cool to see him getting some cup time, as it's likely in the next probably 2 years we're going to see him in a cup car. So it's nice seeing him to get a little seat time before he goes full time.
Yep, definitely.
So, and then just kind of something that you and I were talking about in the pre-show, Michael. Kyle Larson had a very strange wreck going into turn 1. And I say strange because as far as, and if you go watch the videos of this wreck, it was very strange in the way that it happened. He's driving in, and it almost looks like he blacks out for a minute and then comes to right as he's about to make contact and tries to correct. It was very strange, Michael, and you were saying that you had basically read the same thing that I did, that it's rumored, of course, not confirmed, that Kyle Larson may have suffered some sort of medical issue with just because it was such a strange accident, and it
was such a strange accident where it's just like no man makes that mistake doing the same thing over and over and over again every lap. Like something either had to have broken or he just blacked out.
Yeah, and something that I had actually seen on TikTok was a comparison to a Fernando Alonso 2015 testing accident that was more or less attempted to be covered up by Formula One. And this is something that I was telling you about. You hadn't even heard about it, which I was pretty surprised by. But some of the rumors around this accident were started because a photographer who was near the scene said that he saw Fernando Alonso's head bent to the side before he went off the track, which would lead you to believe that there was possibly some sort of medical issue with Fernando. One of the leading theories is that he was actually electrocuted by the ERS inside of the car, which caused some sort of epileptic seizure and caused him to crash. But Formula One pretty much swept that right under the rug, and we really haven't heard anything definitive about it.
Yeah, that's almost kind of scary, you know. Formula One is no stranger to conspiracies, but that's a crazy one.
Yeah, it's definitely worth a little research of your own. I just saw it on TikTok and was pretty astounded, and found some other documentation via a motorsport.com article from December 19th of 2015, where he hit the inside concrete wall at turn 3 of Barcelona in preseason testing. So, interesting if true. I'll have to do a little bit more research on that. But anything else about the NASCAR race that you thought was noteworthy? And
no, I thought the race was good. It's just, you know, the clown show heading into turn 1. I didn't particularly like that. But you know, it is what it is. But I think if the racing continues like that, we're going back to the old.
And Daryl just texted me a moment ago. I'm still trying to figure out how that actually happened in regards to Bubba Wallace finishing P5. Bubba Wallace is probably one of the worst road course racers on the circuit, and for him to pick up a P5, not only does that mean that team is starting to get some momentum, but it also means that Bubba's starting to find some confidence of his own as well. I would definitely agree with you, Daryl. And if we want to draw a comparison even to this season, look at Lewis Hamilton at the start of the season compared to where he is now. He was definitely downtrodden, was not getting the results, and then they solve the porpoising, and I think he gets a P4 or 5, and he's been all smiles ever since, and it looks like he's actually enjoying racing again. And that's all you need is a little momentum swing like that to really go from finishing outside of a points-paying position in Formula One or, you know, a top 10 in NASCAR, and it actually brings you right into where you're getting the results that every race car driver wants to have.
Right. Sometimes that's all you need, really, is just, you know, for an issue to be solved. Like, the porpoising was really hurting him during races. Now that it's solved, we're actually getting to see good old hammer time again.
Absolutely, and Arthur Parsons joining the chat. Welcome, Arthur. Would have been good to have you on as a guest tonight, as Daryl's actually out. He's commuting home from a work event, so he's using text-to-talk to send in feedback for the show, everybody. So don't think that he's out there breaking the law on the motorways, endangering the lives of anybody. So he's a safe driver, and so if it looks like we're going to move on to Formula One, which is kind of what I had blocked out for the biggest part of today anyway. And Michael, I don't know where we're going to start on this one. There's just a lot to talk about. I think we might as well just bite the bullet and start with Ferrari, unless you want to save that for last.
No, we can talk about Ferrari.
All right, so a little breakdown of the race. Ferrari starts P2 and P3 behind George Russell, and Max Verstappen starts P10. Throughout the course of the race, Ferrari, again, no surprise to anybody, loses the strategy game. Max Verstappen ends up winning, and Carlos Sainz finishes P4, I believe it was, and Charles Leclerc finishes P7. So, not the greatest day Ferrari, and we can trace this back purely to strategy. Now, Michael, as the resident Ferrari fan, I did enough talking about their woes last week, so I'm just going to turn it over to you and let you do your thing.
Okay. I was going to get on a Daryl soapbox and start yelling at them, but honestly, my head really hurts. So, I won't. I would just kind of just tear them a new one. What are we doing is the big question, because as one of the oldest F1 teams, it's not good publicity-wise to see your opponents laughing at you after the race. Like, Lewis, George, and Verstappen, they were chuckling about Ferrari being on the hards, and that's not a good look. That's actually kind of embarrassing, and it's something that's been happening all year, where mucking this up. I've been getting clowned. Well, not really, but I go on here every weekend, and I have to listen to Chris, Daryl, and everybody clowning about Ferrari. And the thing is, it's true. I can't really defend them if they're the one doing it. So something needs to change in that office. I hate that this car is going down as a really fast car, potentially a championship winner, and it's gonna finish possibly third in the constructors.
Absolutely,
you guys need to do something in that meeting room now, because this is a joke. We are a joke. People are laughing at us, the Tifosi, the engineers at your factories. They're laughing at you, and they're laughing at you every weekend. You need to do something. Either get Bernardo out of the team principal's position and back in the engineering department, or something. But you need to do it. If nothing has changed during the summer break, and we go in and you fuck it up at Belgium, I'm sorry, I'm done. I can't keep getting clowned on show like this. It's really rage-inducing. So either you figure it out, or I'm done.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what a abusive relationship looks like. Please do not be the abusive partner in your relationship. As you can tell by Michael, not a very fun situation, not making light of abusive relationships. But downtrodden is the way that Ferrari's season has gone. They've made mistake after mistake, and while it's rarely been the drivers, it has absolutely been on the Ferrari strategy and the Ferrari power unit departments, because if the strategy is not subpar to Red Bull or Mercedes, one of their cars catches fire and ruins the race either way. We're looking specifically at the Red Bull ring as an example of that. Carlos Sainz was definitely on pace to win that, or he was going to finish P2 actually, and ends up finishing last. He retires and does not get any points because his car caught fire halfway through. Daryl chimes in, congratulations to Max Verstappen on the 2022 World Drivers' Championship. That's all he has to say about Hungary. And I have to agree. Ferrari, really the only hope there is for any type of competition this season is for Mercedes to pick it up, and, well, they'd have to beat out both Max Verstappen and Checo Perez in the points every race. But it does look like Red Bull more or less has a stranglehold on the championship, but the second place position in the Constructors is very much in play. I think, Michael, as far as I'm concerned, you probably did enough. I would like to see Binotto lose his job. I think that that's the only way that they probably hold on to P2 in the Constructors' Championship, is if they have to make an organizational change, and I think that you have to cut off the head of the snake as far as metaphors go. And
like the Ferrari like Binotto isn't the strategist here. He's not the one calling the shots. Ironically, there is a chief strategist. I have his name looked up somewhere. But yeah, it's him making the strategist, and ever since then, Binotto has just said like he's not gonna he gave him a vote of confidence, and I'm just like, why? been it's Anaki Ruda. He's been giving Ruda, the bone ever since, and I think you need to get rid of the guy, Bernardo.
Yeah, and go ahead.
He's cost 80 points. You know how many points Verstappen has? 80. So that should tell you something. That should tell you need to get rid of this guy. And I know it's going to be hard because Ferrari's really stuck in their old ways. The old saying, it's a Ferrari. Things can't go wrong if it's a Ferrari. But look, things are going wrong. You need to get with the times and get rid of some people, make the change. Because if you guys keep going in the future, you're never going to win another championship.
Yeah, I think that you're right, and I think where I was really lost was the decision to put not only the decision to put hard tires on Charles Leclerc after hard tires completely failed at every point else throughout the race. They didn't work, and Ferrari had enough data to know that, and
it's not even the data. It's observation. They saw the Alpines and the Haas struggling on the hard tires all day, and they decide to put them on the hard tires. And the thing is, Leclerc even said on the radio that the mediums were good. He thought that the ideal strategy was to go medium, soft. Okay, that made a lot of sense. All right, even if Verstappen overtakes you pitting or whatever, you can either chase him down or you can secure the podium. But they just decide to box him for hards, and then when they see that the hards are clearly not winning, Verstappen spins out, does a perfect pirouette, comes back and re-overtakes Leclerc. It's just mind-boggling.
There was
I'm not gonna go out and say I would have done any better, but if I would have saw that something's not working, then I would have, not done the thing that's not working.
Yeah, and I think where I was really lost was you make the bad decision and you put hard tires on the car, right? At the end of the race, you made a bad decision and you should own it, right? That's what you do when you make a mistake. You own it. And after the race, Mattia Binotto had the audacity to say while being interviewed that the strategy call was right. The car just didn't have the pace to match Verstappen.
The car overtook Mercedes. All right. The car wasn't there, but your car made a pass for the lead and was pulling away. So, whatever he said, he's tripping. I'm sorry. But, you can't really say anything bad because the Italian mafia has a gun pointed at him the entire time. So, you can't really say anything bad.
Yeah, I think that the lack of taking responsibility for what happened on Sunday should cost Binotto his job. Do I think it will? Probably not. But like you kind of said earlier, at what point is enough enough? And the Tifosi, they've been loud about being disgruntled for the team performance, but when does Ferrari start taking notice and saying, you know what, it's time? I don't know when that is. I would hope
they're stuck in their old ways.
Yeah.
They're really stuck in their old ways, and it's like it's like a grandpa trying to get with the times, and he just messes up the entire time. trying to do is not working. And, you know, another thing that really irritates me is that maybe, just maybe, they stop hiring inside of Italy and maybe go back to hiring inside Great Britain. I don't think that's going to happen because, again, stuck in their old ways. But, you know, Britain's got talent. Italy apparently doesn't. So, there's my final shot. But apparently Bernardo is Swiss, and that's how it's.
Yeah. Any final thoughts before we go to break, Michael?
Like I said, if something doesn't change, I'm just done. I can't. Every time I go on the show, it's difficult because I just gotta listen to you guys. Like I said, every weekend, cheer for everyone, and I like the Star. I like the Claire, but I can't keep being mentally drained after every race. It's just, I can't even look forward to an F1 race anymore, man. I can't. Like, every Sunday, it's just like, how is this gonna suck?
I absolutely agree with you. As an Alex Bowman fan, I know how you feel. So sometimes you do great, but most of the time you're just like, what the hell? So, that being said, we're going to take a quick break, and we will be back with you guys in just a moment.
What's up, everybody? This is Taryn Rodriguez. Are you a fan of volleyball? Are you a fan of Thunder Spikes? Then I have the show for you. Set Point, where I cover NCAA men's and women's volleyball, high school boys and girls volleyball, beach volleyball, and even professional volleyball. Catch the action every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
All right, we are back, and before we get back into the show, just want to take a moment to thank 4 of our Patreon supporters: the Bay Area Raised, M. Los Great, Key to the Gate, and Anonymous. For the last 8 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. All the while, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and with your help, we're ready to take the next step. When you go to our website, iesportsradio.com, you'll see our Patreon link with 5 different tiers. The first one starting at just $5 a month. This donation gets you shout-outs on all 32 of our shows. Higher tiers include IE Sports Radio merchandise, access to our podcasting university, and even a chance to be featured on a segment of our flagship show, The Defining Moment. Thank you all very much for continuing to make IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports. And just while we were out, Arthur Parsons commented in to you, Michael, that how you feel about Ferrari is exactly how he feels about Kevin Harvick. And we actually, I don't know if you were here for it, Arthur, but we did talk about Kevin Harvick for just a second about at Indy. He got a little upset over the radio with Alex Bowman after a turn 1 pile up there where he caught a fender, and I don't did he get a tire taken down, or was it just some damage? I don't remember.
I think it was just some damage.
I think so too.
It was a tire taken down too.
No, 'cause I think Bowman had the tire taken down. Not, I think Harvick went on fine.
Oh yeah, then it was just damage.
And we also have Adam Karnick joining in. Welcome, Adam. Thank you for sending me over the reads today. So much appreciated for you doing that so fast. Picking up where we left off, we were talking Formula One with the Hungarian Grand Prix. I think we pretty much beat that dead horse, and now we're going to move on to a notification that I got first thing Monday morning from the Formula One Twitter. I personally, and I think you as well, Michael, were expecting that to be a personnel change at the head of Ferrari. It was not that, unfortunately. It was news that Fernando Alonso is leaving Alpine, and he's going to be racing for Aston Martin in Sebastian Vettel's seat next year. What are your thoughts on that?
Questionable. Very, very questionable. Because you see where that team is running, right?
Yeah, I'm very aware where that team's running. My guess is...
what that team has had to do to get to that point, right?
What's that?
I mean, you of all should have seen what that team has done to get to that point, right?
Yeah, it's why he's leaving Alpine, where he has had some success, and in my opinion, stepping way down from where he is currently. The only thing that makes sense is that Lawrence Stroll opened up the checkbook to him.
That's the only thing that has to happen, honestly.
That's the only thing that makes sense for me is Lawrence Stroll called him up and said, "Hey, I've got a blank check. I signed it. Just write what you need."
I mean, let's be honest. Fernando Alonso has, he's completed the main quest. He's just doing side quests now.
Absolutely, and Aston Martin definitely wants a veteran driver to keep paired up with the heir apparent and Lawrence Stroll's son Lance. It's definitely, they need to keep a veteran driver with him just because he's young, he's relatively inexperienced, and as far as where he ranks on the grid, I would not put him in the top 10. I probably wouldn't even put him in the top 15. I think I would have him at number 17, firmly ahead of only Latifi, and no, I'd have him in.
Hold up. You got to put him below Latifi. That man got P1 in a practice, so he's even behind.
I know, but Lance Stroll ran good in the rain one time, though.
Yeah, one time. I mean, then again, Lance did get a podium.
Yeah. And so, I mean, you can't get to Red Bull, or you can't get to Formula One without getting super license points. So, I mean, Lance Stroll is obviously a capable racer. It just goes back to our question last week. Would you rather be the worst racer in Formula One or the best in another series? And Lance Stroll sided with me that you'd rather be the worst in Formula One.
Yeah. I mean, if that's what you want.
So,
I mean, I wouldn't want to be like Latifi right now and just have everybody just kind of saying I'm the worst of the worst.
Yeah. Latifi at least brings his own money. Lance Stroll just brings daddy's.
Yeah.
But, anyway, we were supposed to get an announcement today, Michael. It was rumored that Red Bull and Porsche would go public with their agreement, where Porsche is rumored to be buying 50% of the Red Bull Formula One team. It was leaked a little over a week ago, details of the arrangement, with a speculated announcement day of August 4th, which is today. That came and went, so we are waiting for official word, but all signs point to this deal being more or less done. And actually, Christian Horner did comment on it at the Hungarian Grand Prix, where he just said that these things take time. There's a lot of T's to cross and I's to dot. So I think we'll probably see an announcement by the end of the summer break, but I think it'll be more towards the end than the beginning.
Yeah.
And
yeah, who knows? We'll probably be seeing Porsche branded Honda engines.
not until 2026, though. Actually, Honda signed an agreement with Red Bull this week where they're staying on until 2025.
Okay.
Yeah. So, so they're actually staying in as and it's a really weird relationship that Honda and Red Bull have at this point. Honda's considered a technical advisor to the Red Bull powertrains, but for all intents and purposes, these are Honda engines built by Honda engineers and maintained by Honda. So not really sure exactly. I mean, I don't think anybody really knows what the actual deal going on here is. It's a little sketchy, even as the Red Bull fan that wants to turn a blind eye to it. It is a little sketchy in my opinion. But that's Red Bull and that's Christian Horner.
Yeah. All right. So on to the. Are we gonna go on to the elephant in the room?
Yeah, absolutely.
And a certain Australian driver.
The Polo 2.0 incident of this season.
Yes, the Polo-esque incident that is sort of become another S-word show.
Yeah, and for those of you that are not familiar with the Polo incident that we're talking about, all you have to do is listen to this Oscar Piastri contract situation and then just change the name Oscar Piastri to Polo, and it is literally the exact same, almost verbatim thing that happened in Formula One this week that happened in IndyCar just, I think, 2 weeks ago now. So Oscar Piastri is a Formula 2 champion. When you win the Formula 2 championship, you are not allowed to race in Formula 2 again, so he's waiting for a Formula 1 seat to open. With Fernando Alonso's transfer to Aston Martin, that leaves a seat at Alpine, which it was assumed that Oscar Piastri would fill that seat. He is an Alpine development driver. And Alpine went as far as to publicly announce on Twitter that Piastri was going to be in the seat vacated by Alonso next year. And I think what caught people's eye about this, Michael, is the fact that Piastri is Australian, and so there's obviously a notable time difference. And Alpine announced this at 2:30 a.m. Australian time. Did not actually explicitly say that Piastri was signed. It just said that he was, and I quote, promoted to Formula One.
Another weird thing about that is usually when these announcements are made, they have a quote from the driver. There was no quote from Piastri.
And I think that's the only difference between Piastri and Palou is that with Palou, Chip Ganassi Racing just made up a quote from him. Alpine didn't go that far. They didn't make up a quote about how happy he is to be there. So fast forward a couple hours after this announcement's made, it becomes a reasonable time in Australia in the morning, and Oscar Piastri posts on Twitter, and I am going to look that up right now. And I understand, this is what Piastri posts on Twitter. I understand that without my agreement, Alpine F1 have put out a press release late this afternoon that I am driving for them next year. This is wrong, and I have not signed a contract with Alpine for 2023. I will not be driving for Alpine next year. That sends as clear of a message as I have ever seen. There's no mistaking what he was saying there. And the question now becomes, if Piastri turns down that seat at Alpine, that means he has something else somewhere lined up. The most popular opinion is McLaren, which for those of you who don't know, have 2 drivers contracted next season, so that puts it in an awkward position where there are 3 drivers promised 2 seats if Piastri's end up promised that seat. But actually something that I had read today, Michael, and I'd like to get your opinion on, is Mark Webber is Piastri's agent, and Mark Webber is also a brand ambassador for Porsche. So it's speculated that possibly Oscar Piastri could end up at AlphaTauri with some sort of weird Gasly swap to Alpine.
That's a stretch.
It's
a stretch because Alpine is already has Piastri. Like, Piastri's an Alpine academy driver. And in order for you to get that Red Bull seat, I think you have to be a Red Bull Academy driver like for a while. So I don't really know about that, but if it's some like 4D strategy to put him in AlphaTauri to get to Red Bull, then sure, maybe. But that seems like kind of a stretch. Yeah, that seems like kind of a stretch. Now, if it ends up being true, more power to you. But that just seems weird.
Well, it would be an incredible strategy play by Red Bull, and who are no strangers to good strategy. And that could be, I mean, if you're looking at Piastri for replacing Checo in 2 to 3 years, it might not be a bad deal to give up Gasly for Piastri. Put him in an AlphaTauri for 2 to 3 seasons, and then when Checo, I mean, he's got kids, he's going to be wanting to retire probably in the next couple of years, especially if we keep adding races. He's already said that 23 is his maximum. Piastri could be a good driver to pair up with Max Verstappen, and you would have a strong lineup if that were the case.
Yeah, that could be the case. Or I think what's realistically happening is, I think McLaren are trying to get rid of Ricciardo for Piastri, and they've offered Piastri, a seat, but they got to get rid of Ricciardo, who I think in his contract says if he wants to leave early, he can. So I think that's what's going to happen, and Ricciardo either fades away from Formula One or he goes back to Alpine.
And another thing worth mentioning is that the whole Palou situation was brought up after CGR announced that he'd be back, and he said that he was going racing for McLaren Racing in IndyCar, so it's not the Formula One team. He was not coming to Formula One, but he was going to be at the McLaren team in IndyCar. But that says to me, and I think it says loudly to almost anybody who's relatively informed on motorsports, that looked like they were priming Palou to take over a seat possibly in Formula One as well. So now we're looking at possibly 4 drivers for 2 seats.
Yeah, it's definitely crazy.
And part of the Palou deal was some IndyCar or some Formula One testing, which just adds more gas to that fire.
This is a crazy debacle that's happening right now.
Absolutely, and it'll be interesting to know if it all comes back to Zach Brown at McLaren, because that's who it's looking like is the agent of chaos.
Yeah, you're not wrong about that.
So, I think that pretty much wraps up Formula One. Anything else that you'd like to add about Formula One or any of the other races before we move on to Nearest the Win and then scoot out for the night?
Has anyone talked about the memes about this? preview a couple, and then we'll move on.
I'm all
we
ears.
have Reynard signing Oscar Piastri. We have Lightning McQueen from the hit movie Cars saying that he'll race for Alpine.
Did you see the Ryan Air?
Yeah.
So Ryan Air, the notoriously, from what I would have to imagine, bad airline, posted something about what I think it was something about buying a seat.
We also have Pastor Maldonado signing for Alpine.
And Lotus posted that they'd be signing Oscar Piastri.
Yep.
Oh, so like the handshake where they put like two things with the handshake emoji in the middle.
Yeah.
So Ryan Air retweeted the Alpine team when they said that Esteban Ocon handshake Oscar Piastri, and they put Alpine and handshaking Ryan Air, and it says random seat allocation. And then somebody commented, but can you pay to choose your seat? And Ryan Air commented, just like Lance Stroll.
Oh man.
And I saw another one on TikTok that was a video of Max Verstappen spin at Hungary, and it said basically it was like, Max, can you check and see if Ferrari really put hard tires on Leclerc's car? And then it shows him spinning and saying, yep, they really did it. And actually, you know what we forgot? Actually, I think we can get it in quick. And that would be Williams with the most dramatic driver announcement I've seen. And this was
oh man,
a
totally.
day
Never saw it coming, man. Never saw it coming.
A day after the day after the Oscar Piastri, Williams Racing calls an announcement and basically says that they've signed Alex Albon to a multi-year deal. And you might recognize this tweet because Alex Albon tweeted, I understand that with my agreement, Williams Racing have put out a press release this afternoon that I am driving for them next year. This is right, and I have signed a contract with Williams for 2023. I will be driving for Williams next year. So reads almost identical to Piastri's, just with a notable difference, obviously. And yes, anything else, Michael, before we do nearest the win and scoot out of here?
Nope, that's it for me.
All right, I'm just going to pull up my text here and see if Daryl texted me his nearest the win picks. Okay, so he did not pick anybody for Michigan. Oh, no, never mind. His text to speech is just terrible, or his speech to text or whatever. So NASCAR, we are at Michigan for the Firekeepers Casino 400. Daryl picks Bubba Wallace. Last week, I picked Kyle Larson. I'm gonna take Chase Elliott. Who do you got, Michael?
For Michigan, I'm going to pick. Man, who do I pick? It's been such a crazy season. I'm gonna just throw this up in the air. William Byron.
You know what? I was circling between him and Alex Bowman too, and I know that just as an Alex Bowman homer, that's kind of something always on my mind. But Alex Bowman was fast there last year, and I was circling around. So William Byron's definitely a good one. I wouldn't be surprised to see him win if we're being completely honest. And then we also have the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix, which is the Nashville Street Course, and that will be Indycar this week. Daryl is taking Pillow. Last week I took McLaughlin. This week I'm gonna take. No, I don't want to take Scott Dixon. I'm gonna take Newgarden. Yeah. And did you say that you'll also take Newgarden, Michael?
I was thinking Newgarden as well. Yeah.
Is that your final answer?
Yeah, I think he just proves that that what happened the other races that just that. I think he just proves that he's kind of over it. It's back to business.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely seeing him bring it home top 5 this past week was definitely a good sign that he's back in business. So that's going to wrap us up. If you want to participate in Nearest the Win, just pick your drivers and tweet out with the hashtag Nearest the Win, and you can get those locked in. Usually Taryn puts his in here. Looks like he might be checking into his hotel, though, so we might not see his. Arthur Parsons might get one in. And actually, just before we scoot out, Taryn Rodriguez says Max Verstappen has the best last name in Formula One. As our resident Max Verstappen fan, I would have to agree. Michael, do you think Verstappen's the best last name in Formula One?
No.
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 What do you think is?
Best last name?
Don't say Leclerc.
I mean, it does sound really nice.
It depends on who's saying it. People say Leclerc so differently. You say Leclerc, Leclerc. I've heard it pronounced probably 5 different ways.
The best name I've ever heard in Formula One is Raikkonen.
Kimi Raikkonen. That's definitely top tier right up there.
Hakkinen. I never thought I would have my ass kicked by some guy named Hamilton.
Yeah. So, and Taryn says that he did not brush up on his Nearest the Win picks. Well, that's okay, Taryn. You got some time. Just got to get them in before race time. So, that being said, Michael and I are going to scoot out of here. That way Arthur Parsons can get on here and get picked up. And Arthur says he did not brush up on it either this weekend. Well, fellas, it's a street course for IndyCar, and then a intermediate track, a big wide open Michigan race this weekend for NASCAR. So you're probably not going to go wrong no matter where you go. So anyways, as always, make sure that you keep it tuned to the socials at IE Sports Radio on Twitter for the main IE Sports Radio account. For us personally here on the Extra Mile, we have for Twitter at Extra Mile IESR. I'm Fiji Sims, Michael Ward 25, and Daryl's DK Jr. And keep it locked to our TikTok as well, The Extra Mile Pod. We do quite a bit over there, posting some content, and I've actually got about 40 drafts that I need to get posted, so it's going to be a pretty busy place over the next week or two as I get some of these drafts moved out and published. So with that being said, Michael and I are going to scoot out of here, and we will see you guys at the next green flag. Good night, everybody.